Today we're going to be talking about the subject of lying, but not like the big lies that we all know we shouldn't do in marriage, but we're really going to be talking about the little white lies, and we're going to kind of discuss if there's ever a good time for little white lies, and maybe even what some of the dangers and pitfalls would be if you are caught in a little white lie. So stay tuned. Hey, I'm Rusty.
And I'm Heather.
And we're the Bryants, and this is the Redeemed Marriage Podcast.
We are here to encourage healthy marriages, strengthen wounded marriages, and begin the process of restoration to broken marriages.
We aren't licensed counselors, but we are a redeemed couple that loves the Lord and wants to help you journey through this messy, challenging, and fun part of life called marriage. Hello, folks.
Hey, Bear.
Hey, Bear.
Did I do it right?
You
or
did.
did I kind of sound like Yogi? Hey, boo-boo.
You sort of did. There's some people out there that will know what we're talking about because we know that we have some fans of another podcast that we listen to. So anyway, we just try to mix it up sometimes. But we want to say welcome back. So first of all, I don't.
People missed us.
Yes, and so that was not planned. It was not planned that we were skipping a week. So, we are always telling you guys that this is just real life, and real life took over last week. We went on a little excursion because it was Labor Day. So if you're listening to this today is actually September 11th when we're recording this. I think it'll go live September 12th. But so last weekend was Labor Day. We went to watch our oldest son. He plays soccer in college, and so we went on a little trip. And the great thing is we do think ahead. And we were like, hey.
Great.
Yes. We were like, hey,
Great
let's
plans.
pack up all of our podcast stuff, which,
Yep.
I mean, that's a challenge in itself. And we'll pack it and put it in the car, and we'll record
While we're gone.
on location.
Didn't happen.
It did not happen because we just spent time with family. And so
And that's okay.
Yep, it was much needed. It was fun. It was good. But we did miss it. And we appreciate those of you that reached out to us on social media, and even people around town that were like, we really missed y'all. We Monday morning, it wasn't there.
Yeah.
So
They
thanks.
thought we forgot.
We definitely did not forget. So, hey, before we get started, I want to ask a quick favor of you guys. If this podcast and this ministry has been a blessing to you, we would love it if you would take just a second and give us a rating on the podcast platform that you use. And also, if you have a chance to leave just a short review, an honest review, that really helps us a lot. So,
And you know what? Not only that, this morning, I had two different people at church tell me that they had shared our podcast with somebody. So, yes, the reviews and the ratings get it in front of a lot of people that we don't know. But also, if you know someone who can be blessed by this, or if could be encouraged, you have to be careful because you don't want to send it and be like, your marriage sucks, you should listen to this podcast. But if you just know it would be an encouragement to somebody, just send it their way.
Yep.
And I'm not gonna lie, your little intro, people may have cut it off by that. We're telling them it's okay to tell white lies.
We might not be. That's why they have to listen.
That's true.
It's
But in our
intriguing.
discussion that we had 5 minutes before we started recording, I was like, that's interesting.
Well, here we go. Let's
let's
dive
jump
in.
in.
So, let's just make that our first point. Our first question is it ever okay to lie to your spouse? This is marriage. We're talking about marriage. Is it ever okay to lie to your spouse?
It's tough because I want to say no. I want to say absolutely not. It's going to get you in trouble. If you tell one little white lie, it's going to lead to more. But then I think about when I was pregnant.
Yeah, so I've got two things
Yeah.
that I think, and people I think will listen to this and go, okay, I respect that.
Sure,
I respect that.
I hope so.
So the first one is, if you're planning some sort of a surprise or something, maybe it's a gift, and I don't know that I count that as a lie. It's just sometimes you have to if you're doing something for your spouse and you don't want them to know, then you can't be completely honest with them, or it's not going to work
until later.
Yeah, I mean,
after the surprise.
That's right. So that is one thing. The other thing would be, just like you said, when it's, hey, how do I look? I can't help but think of one of our favorite movies, Liar Liar. And in that movie, Jim Carrey, it's hilarious. If you've never seen it, go watch Liar Liar. It's a great movie. And he's a lawyer, and he basically just lies all the time. His son, for his birthday he wished that his dad would not be able to tell a lie, because he
for
would,
a day,
for a
24 hours.
For a whole day. And so he wasn't there at the birthday party. That's why he wished it. And so for a whole day, he could not tell a lie. And so everything that came out of his mouth was brutal honesty. But he was trying to explain to his son that grown-ups have to lie. And his son did not get it and could not understand it. But this is what he said. He said, when your mom was pregnant with you, she asked me if she looked fat. I said no, because saying yes would have hurt her feelings.
Yep.
So look, here's the thing. This is the advice to all you men out there.
Before you advise, can we say don't watch that movie with your itty-bitty children? Okay, sorry.
Why?
Because it's got some parts in it.
Oh, yeah, it does. It does. But it's not, I mean, it's not it's rated PG or something. But it's an old PG where it's got
I was just thinking of some of the parts in my head, and I was like,
that's fine. Yeah. Watch it with your spouse. It's fun. Anyways.
Sorry.
So that would be one of those times that, it's just hard, because like, you don't want, if you're going to be completely honest in a situation like that, what do you say? Well, yeah, you look fat, but you're carrying my child, and I really love you.
Fat.
It's just like, but here's the thing. We're going to come back. I have a question kind of towards the end that I'm going to twist around a little bit, and we'll come back to that kind of a dilemma. So, but that is one of those times that I would say, look, the question comes up, your spouse says, how do I look in this? You can be honest. You might better take this. I'm just like digging a hole over here.
So have you ever told me I look good in something that I didn't?
See, this is a dirty question that you should not.
Okay, all right, here's the thing. If I say, do I look pretty in this? That means I think I look good in it, and I'm just fishing for a compliment. But if I genuinely say, like, does this look good on me?
Right.
Like, I need somebody else's opinion of, like, today.
That's different, but that's the way that you frame the question.
That's right. Like today with those sunglasses, I was trying on a pair of sunglasses, and I needed to know if they looked feminine or if they looked more manly. And I wasn't looking for you to be like, yeah, you look great.
Right.
You look good in anything. Do they look good on me?
Okay.
And does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay.
So while we're here, I was gonna bring this up much later in the conversation, but I think we should go ahead and talk about it. And the question that I would have is, do you, not you as in you, Heather, but you out there listening, do you ask questions that could potentially prompt your spouse to tell a lie? And that's something that I think you need to work on. So, for instance, oh man, I'm talking to our listeners.
Just kidding.
Okay, so here's the thing, like something like that. Do you think I look pretty in this? Well, they have to say yes. You look pretty. Okay, but just like you were saying, if you frame that a different way, and you just say, "Am I like? How do I?" Do I look okay in this, or is this dress too short for me, or whatever? Well, you're asking for an opinion and help on something. Right. But when you're just fishing for something, then you want yeah, you look pretty, or you better not say anything
right.
else.
That's right.
Okay?
That's right. Because you don't want to ask a question in a way that you're setting your spouse up for failure.
Right.
Like, no matter what you answer, it's going to be a flop.
So I have another example of that.
Okay.
You're walking down the street. There's an obvious pretty girl that walks by, and are you going to ask the question? Say, do you think she's pretty? Okay, that's stupid.
Right.
I mean, it really is, because you know she's pretty. So why would you set your spouse up? I mean, like, it's okay for your spouse to look at. I mean, you don't want to look at them and lust and all that kind of stuff. We know that. But
you can observe beauty,
yes,
and be like, oh, yeah.
And nobody. I mean, how do you get out of that?
Right.
You know. So
You don't.
So if you're if you're setting your spouse up for failure by asking questions that could, cause them to lie, that's on you. So I think we just need to say, be really careful.
Sure.
If you want to have a conversation, then. Like I said, just the whole, I mean, that you used to do that. Like when you would see somebody, do you think she looks pretty? And it's like,
well, you know what that is. 100% insecurity on my part.
Sure.
I'm just needing, and this was years ago.
Right.
Years. I've learned.
Right. No, but I know, I'm 100% positive that there's tons and tons of listeners out there that this happens to them.
Yeah.
And so I'm saying, it could go either way. I mean, it could go either way. Like, hey, do you wish that I had muscles like that guy? I mean, that's just like, you just have to be really careful with what you ask. So, okay. So that was that. We took a little sidetrack.
Sorry,
there, but I think that's.
my fault.
But I do think that. I mean, I wanted to go there.
That's you have a list, and I'm all over the place.
Always. So here's the thing. What we are not talking about today are like big lies and secrets, because
they're always a no.
They're always a no. Like, do not keep secrets from your spouse. Do not tell lies. Do not hide things. That's not what we're talking about. Those we've talked about before. We'll talk about them plenty more times on this podcast. But today, what we're really talking about are the little white lies that kind of seem like they're innocent. So let's set why we're actually talking about this.
Okay.
We were with some friends, family this past weekend. Last weekend, and they actually they said, "Hey, here's a good topic for your for your podcast." But he made a comment and said, "Why, when I'm playing golf and my spouse says, 'When are you going to be home?' and I say to her, 'Well, I should be home in about an hour,' but he said, 'I know it's going to be an hour and a half at least.' Why would I go shorter instead of longer? Like, why wouldn't I say it'll probably be about 2 hours, and then I might get home in an hour and a half, and that's probably more realistic. But instead, I go the other way and I say I'll be home in about an hour, and then it doesn't happen,
knowing it's not going to happen.
Right. And so he wanted to know, why do I do that?
Right.
Like, I don't even understand why I do that. So that's one example of a little white lie that happens. And I think that happens in probably all marriages. It's kind of one of those things where it's like, when do you think you'll be home? Probably about 7, but you're not coming home at 7 for whatever reason.
How much did you spend at the mall? About $100.
Yes, that's another one, and that's a good one. I think also, like, sometimes maybe you're at work and you were supposed to be home and you ended up just kind of staying, maybe not doing something you weren't supposed to be doing, but you were just working on something, and your spouse is like, when are you coming home? And you may throw out the meeting just got over. You're just trying to soften the blow maybe a little bit, but it's like you went back and you were working on some stuff, but you just don't want to say that because your spouse may be like, well, why didn't you come home? You're supposed to come home. Well, we just got out of the meeting, or my boss made me stay for something. And it may be completely innocent, like but you just aren't telling the complete truth. What about, like, when you're just wasting time on social media and you're scrolling around, and maybe your spouse is like, what are you doing? And you're like, well, I was checking the weather for tomorrow, and you just try to throw off that, and you aren't doing anything wrong.
Right.
It's just like,
why am I wasting time on this?
Well, I was answering some emails or,
Yeah.
I think that's one. Did you think of any other ones?
Little white lies.
Yeah.
I thought you were going to ask me about the reason why we do those.
No, we are we are going to do that. But I'm just trying to give some examples because I don't want people to think, well, like what are the little? I'm trying to cover all of the bases.
Yeah. Yeah. Because when I start thinking about genuine little white lies, I think those. And I know this is going to be part of what we talk about, is that it leads to bigger stuff. Yeah. And that's where my head goes. Like when I'm thinking, oh, who all went to dinner with y'all? And maybe there's that friend in there that your spouse doesn't like you hanging out with, and you just purposefully leave them out. I mean, that's a little white lie.
That's a really good one.
But that's a deeper issue.
Yeah.
So, and all,
But it is good. I mean, that's
right.
Yeah, that's
or,
good.
I mean, even like, did you have a drink with dinner? No.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or I just had
Or, I mean, what'd you do for lunch today? I just ran by and grabbed a salad and you didn't.
And you totally had a Big Mac.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's kind of like big deal, but why are you lying about that?
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I was just trying to think of, even like, I don't know, maybe this is silly, but, I went and worked out today, ran 3 miles, didn't really run 3 miles, I mean, I went like a mile and then walked for another 10 yards. And like, why? It's just, those are the kind of things that you can put yourself in any of these settings and any of these situations, and you know what we're talking about now.
Right.
So, what would be, first of all, why do you think we do that?
Well, I have 2 reasons.
Okay.
You want me to just do one or both of them?
Let's go.
Okay. I think the number one reason that we do it is to avoid conflict. Mm-hmm. I think, I just don't want to talk about that. Or if I say I'll be home in a couple of hours, I don't want to hear him gripe or her gripe. Like with the golfing thing. If he had said I'll probably be home in a couple of hours, that might have brought on, you said you weren't going to be gone that long, or why are you spending so much time away, or, and so instead of here, and I'm not saying the spouse would have said that, but that's what he's fearful of. Mm-hmm. And so to avoid conflict with your spouse. The second reason I think that we do it is we always want to appear better in our spouse's eyes than we really are. And so if we did have the salad, or if we really had run 3 miles, or if we really didn't go with that friend, to dinner, whatever those things are, or if it really is only going to take an hour at the golf course, then we're going to look better in our spouse's eyes. And I think we desire that. And I don't think that's desiring that is not the issue. I think we want to look good in our spouse's eyes. That's why we say, do I look pretty in this dress? But for anything, if we know they're going to think less of us, or if they're going to judge us, or if they're going to be frustrated, or they're going to be mad, then we just avoid it altogether. By telling a little
that's
white
really
lie.
good. I think those are the 2 reasons. And I hadn't even really thought through the reasons, but yes, one is the conflict, and we're going to come back to that in a second. The other one is, I think that's good, that we want to look better to our spouse than what we really are. So before we come back to that other thing, why? Let's just throw this out. I mean, here it is. Why are white lies dangerous?
The number one reason to me is it always leads to bigger lies. If you can get away with lying about little things, then it's going to seem easy. And you're going to be like, yeah, well, he's oblivious, or he didn't, check up on that at all. So I can go a little bit deeper next time.
I saw this quote today. Lies are like cockroaches. For every one discovered, there are many more hidden.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's true. I mean, and it may not be, it may be that as you are doing those white lies, that it's just making it easier and leading to bigger lies. But at the same time, if you are doing little white lies, chances are there are more lies somewhere else that are just hidden.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's the obvious danger. I think that most people out there would go, yeah, I mean, we figured you would say that. But I think that it also, it's a sign of some dysfunctional communication issues. And where I think that is, we talk a lot about communication in marriage. It has to be a safe place, like a place where you don't feel like every time you say something that it's going to be a conflict, that you can actually, there's trust, there's, it's just safety and communication. Like, if, go back to the golf course thing, if you say, hey, what time are you going to be home? And I'm scared of you, then that's not a safe place.
Right.
But if I'm not, if I'm not scared of you and we communicate well, and I'm able to say, it's really taking a little bit longer than I actually thought it was, but, I'm having a good time. I'll be back in an hour and a half. Like, if that feels safe, then I'm okay saying that to you.
Well, and if you know how to word it, because if you're like, it's going to take me 2 more hours, sorry.
Yeah.
Then that's
like,
not right. That's not respectful.
Right.
But if you say, "Hey, babe, I really thought it was going to be about an hour more, but it looks like it's going to be a longer. I'm sorry." Like, apologize. Like, I'm sorry this is taking longer than I thought. I hope it's not putting you out. I hope it's not frustrating you. Like, and so I think that some of that is a little bit. We imagine it's going to be worse than it is. But if you'll just say it and say it well, then you're probably not going to get as harsh of a reaction as you think.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that those two things, just communication and safe place, like, that's why they're dangerous, because the white lies point to a potentially a deeper issue.
That's right.
So if you find yourself telling a lot of white lies, I think you need to think to yourself, is this me? Like, am I telling these white lies because I'm just not being honest, or is it because I'm scared, it's not a safe place? And so,
sorry,
go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, with that same train of thought, I feel like a lot of times couples will say, I'm not going to say that or do that or tell them that because I know how they're going to react and I'm trying to avoid that. And so you blame it on, I'm just not going to tell them that because I don't want them to get mad and upset. And so instead of making her mad and upset, I'm just not going to tell her. And then that way I can avoid that. And it's almost like you justify it. Does that make sense?
Yo, 100%. So here's the big question.
Okay.
This is the one I want to throw out. Do white lies reflect more on the person telling the lie or the one being lied to?
Ouch. Yeah, that's tough.
That's a great question.
Absolutely. It's yeah.
So I think we don't know the answer to that, but I'm throwing it out there because I want people to think about it, because that's some self-examination.
Sure.
So if you feel like, your spouse is always giving the white lies and telling the little untruths to you, instead of being angry that they're doing that, which you have a right to, I mean, we all want to be truthful, but instead turn that back around and say, is it because of me?
Right.
Like, are they scared of me? Am I demanding? Am I not sensitive? Am I not, do I always bring things up and it leads to conflict? All of that kind of stuff. And I would say that most people out there, it's a little bit of both.
But I would also say that most people out there won't admit it's them.
Oh, for sure.
It's easy to say, oh, it's the other person. If he wouldn't react that way, I would be able to tell him the truth every time. But he reacts and blows up, and I just don't want to deal with that. So I'm just going to tell him. But is it really him or is it you? You know?
Well, that's my challenge, and what I want to throw out to people for this week is I want you to really look at yourself. And first of all, consider, are there things, and I'll be honest, I told you this when we started this discussion today, I had a really hard time thinking of little white lies because I wanted in my mind to say, okay, what are the little white lies that I tell you? And I couldn't think of a lot. I mean, there were things, especially more in the past,
right?
But like where we are now, because there's a safe place.
That's right.
Our communication is, I mean, light years
well,
where it was.
But I don't want people to freak out if they do, because
sure.
I think it's. I hate to use the word normal. I don't think it's uncommon for people to have little white lies that they do. I'm not saying that that's right, but I think that it's not uncommon. I think that because of the little white lies that led to big lies, we're oversensitive about it. And so, we've spent a whole lot of time creating safe space for us to be able to be honest with each other.
Well, we know where the little lies lead.
Absolutely. But that's what I want. How many times have I said this, that my mentor tells me all the time? You can take my word for it, or you can take the field trip. And I want, you to teach. I want people to learn that little white lies lead to bigger lies just by hearing me say it and hearing you say it instead of taking the field trip and having to discover it on your own.
All right, here's a great question to kind of end this thing.
Okay.
On. So going back to the whole Liar Liar movie, what if you were incapable of lying, okay? That you just, for whatever reason, you wake up tomorrow and you could not tell a lie. Would your marriage be better or worse? I mean, that's deep.
It is. Well, especially if you've watched that movie, because it's little things like the beggar that says, can I have some money? And usually, he goes by, it shows him the first day and he's like, I don't have any change. And then he's like,
No, because if I give you money, you're going to go buy booze. And, he just throws it all out there.
And then he's like, why did I just say that? But I think there's a difference in not telling little white lies and then being brutally honest.
Right.
But I think that marriages are better when they're truthful.
100%.
I mean, I just
but
think...
But the reason why I ask that is because if there are people out there that they're just in this, they've created this culture of little white lies.
Right.
And so now, if they all of a sudden were like, okay, I'm stopping that.
Yeah, that's a good question.
Is your marriage going to be better for it or worse for it because of what you've created?
Well, and let's be honest, you might go through a little bad season.
Sure.
And say, hey, I hadn't been real honest about this, or I'm sorry that I haven't been truthful in all the areas, and I want to do better at communicating. So it may get for a little while, but I think ultimately it would have to get better. But I bet a lot would be worse.
I'm just gonna throw this out there and say to everybody to wrap this up: no lie is good.
No lie's good.
I mean, we told the two sort of, hey, you're trying to keep a secret because you're surprising your spouse. I mean, let's be real. Everybody knows that's a good thing,
right?
And we talked about do I look fat? No, you don't look fat. But again, there's ways to avoid that by you not framing your questions in that way. But besides that, and really, again, we've discounted those. They don't even count. Just there's no good reasons for lying. Let's be honest.
You're trying to wrap this up, and I'm throwing out a question.
Yeah, we're at our time limit.
Quick. Okay, but I want you always do this to me.
Go.
Okay, are you ready? Is there a difference between lying and not telling the whole truth?
No, I don't think so. I mean, I think not telling the whole truth is definitely a form of lying.
I agree with you.
Yeah.
But like, you can't just say, well, I didn't lie. I just didn't tell him the whole story.
Right.
Same thing.
Yeah, because when the whole truth comes out, there's trouble.
That's right.
I mean, you put it on a bigger scale, like something big, and you don't tell everything, but then your spouse finds out the other stuff. Why didn't you tell me? Well, I wasn't lying. I just didn't tell you. No, that's lying.
And so I agree. I just wanted to see what you would say.
And so on a smaller scale, it's the same thing because again, it just leads. And I'm gonna wrap up. I have 2 quotes that I saw today. One was, one lie has the power to tarnish 1,000 truths. That's and that's big. I mean,
absolutely.
You can break trust with one lie. And so that's another reason. Because you may think it's a little white lie, your spouse might not. Your spouse might say, that's not a little white lie. First of all, I don't even know where that came from, but let's just throw out the little white lie and just say lying is no good. The last one is this. When someone doesn't tell you the truth, what they really are saying is they don't value you or their relationship with you enough to be honest. I know, that's hard. But I just think, I wish if we had to blow out the candles right now today, I would just put a wish. Oh, here's the wish I'm throwing out on everybody that's listening. You better turn it off if you don't want to be cast under this wish spell. No, I would, just like the little kid in Liar Liar, I would say, I just wish that all of our listeners would not be able to lie. Like, be honest with your spouse. And even for 24 hours, like when you start to tell that little white lie, just stop and just think through it and say, I need to be honest, and I need to frame it the right way. I need to be sensitive. I need to talk through it, but just don't lie.
Yep.
This was kind of fun to me because I've honestly never really thought about it on a deep, deep level.
Yep.
We've talked lots about lies and what it can get you into because we've lived there, and you can go back and listen to episodes about that. But, the little ones and what they lead to. So, that was a fun topic. So thanks for engaging with me there and answering my questions.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, we enjoyed being with you this week. Hopefully, we will see you again next week. Make sure you communicate with us if you've got some questions or some concerns. We'd love to pray for you, love to help you out. So send us a message on Facebook or Instagram. We'd love to hear from you. So till then, see you next time.